Talk all Arsenal. We're going to start with one of their centre-halves who it looks positive signs that he's going to stay.
Yeah, it's a big period for Arsenal, Rebecca, given their elimination from the Champions League on Wednesday and also their position in the Premier League. Mikel Arteta has been at the club for a long time now, and there's a feeling it's time to deliver, certainly next season. I'll start with William Saliba. I broke the news yesterday that Arsenal have opened talks with him over a new contract. He's approaching the final 24 months of a 4-year contract that was signed in 2023. And therefore, this is normally the point at which clubs look to renew their best players or sell them. They certainly don't want to sell Saliba. They want to renew him. And so their sporting director, Andrea Berta, has initiated discussions with William Saliba's representatives. There have been no offers so far, but that's only a matter of time. It will follow in due course as Arsenal look to intensify these conversations and, in their mind, reach an agreement. Now, Saliba is being pursued by Real Madrid. They really would like to sign him. He would be ideal for them and their president, Florentino Perez. However, Arsenal will do all they can to keep hold of him. If he does leave the Emirates Stadium, I think Real Madrid is his most probable destination, despite the fact that he would have all manner of suitors. He's only going to be playing his career at the top. But Arsenal, of course, will have other ideas about that. The thing in this is that he will want a deal that is reflecting his elevated status, one of the leading central defenders in the Premier League and beyond. He's a starter for the French national team quite often as well. So there's no guarantee how this will finish. But at Arsenal, there is great determination to make sure that William Saliba is with them for a long time to come. He is happy at the club and in London, so that bodes well, but they will have to get the terms of this proposed deal right. It may take some time, but it's a big matter on their in-tray.
Well, David, securing Saliba is one thing. Getting a striker, of course, is another, and that is going to be what all eyes are on this summer.
Arsenal's recruitment plans are vast, and at the top of the list is a number 9. Now, there are fewer of them in the market than they would like. There's an imbalance in supply and demand, but there are some options. We've been talking for so long about Alexander Isak. Of course, Arsenal and Mikel Arteta really like him, but I don't think that's realistic for them or probably for anybody else. Let's see if Newcastle finish in the Champions League or not. Even if they don't and he's available for sale, it will be a huge price, and I don't think that is realistic. So then they look at the likes of Benjamin Sesko. They've done a lot of work on, but I do think they have some reservations around him, maybe on the price, maybe on the player. Let's see. He remains in the mix, as does Victor Gyökeres of Sporting Lisbon. Huge reports from myself and others in recent months on him. He's a player their sporting director, Andrea Berta, really likes. He is possibly the best value for money option out there, but the time is ticking. Other interest is building. We know that Ruben Amorim at Manchester United likes him. So let's see if Arsenal move on that sooner rather than later. They'll be looking at the wide position with names like Nico Williams, of Anthony Gordon. We see more coming every day, like Antoine Semenyo and Rafael Leao in the press. I don't know on the veracity of all of them, but it is a position that Arsenal are focusing on. Martin Zubimendi is coming in from Real Sociedad, as we've reported on NBC for quite some time. That will bolster the midfield. They want to renew Thomas Partey's contract. He wants to stay. But will they reach an agreement? If they don't, will they look elsewhere? They are already looking at possible alternatives for him, but let's see what happens. In defence, they like Dean Huijsen from Bournemouth to bolster at centre-back, but there are a number of clubs in the mix for him. There may be a left-back who comes in, with Kieran Tierney leaving and Alexander Zinchenko available for transfer with just a year left on his contract. Raheem Sterling will leave. Will there be new contracts in players like Leandro Trossard, who's under contract until 2026? There are reports breaking just before we went on air that Arsenal are in talks to renew him. In 27, there's Gabriel Magalhaes, there's Gabriel Martinelli, and other key players who Arsenal will want to tie down. and a second-choice goalkeeper when Neto returns from his loan to Bournemouth. There is a huge amount to do, in and out. Arsenal will try to be prudent with their money, but this is a massive summer coming up for them, for their sporting director, Andrea Berta, for Mikel Arteta as manager, and, of course, for the owners, the Kroenke family.
And you'll be right there, I know, in the middle of it. David, thank you so much, our Premier League insider, joining us live.
But let's move on to talk about what has been, well, a mixed week in Europe in terms of the Champions League for Arsenal, and, of course, a very good week if you're a Tottenham or Manchester United fan, because, of course, they are going to meet in the Europa League final, Chelsea through to the Conference League final. We pretty much expected that. But, Bodie, let's begin by talking about Arsenal and that second tie away to PSG, which they lost in the end by 2-1, 3-1 on aggregates. I mean, whatever Mikel Arteta might have said in the days subsequently from that, over the course of the two legs, they were beaten by the better side, weren't they?
Yeah, I would say so. And I think whoever goes through is obviously the better team side. I think we get sometimes carried away, especially nowadays, in terms of when you look at the numbers and everybody can crunch them together and try and put a positive spin on it. The only thing that matters is the end result. And PSG are going to Munich for the final. I mean, there's no doubt that Arsenal had moments over the two legs, but I thought for 20-25 minutes at the Emirates, PSG controlled the game. And Arsenal started really well in Paris, but when they never got that goal early, you felt as if it was only a matter of PSG scoring. That's exactly what happened. Yes, it took a deflection, and Mikel Arteta and Arsenal won't be happy about that, but I think for PSG, they're an outstanding team. The way that they go about their business defensively, but then the transition as well, really, really quick. And I think even what Mikel Arteta has been speaking about after that and saying they're the best team in the tournament, I don't really know where he's getting these numbers from, because even if you look at the majority of, if you go right down through the stats, Arsenal ain't at the top of many of them. So I'm not quite sure where he's pulling these numbers from. I get that he needs to put a positive spin on it. I get that he will be happy that his team have went out of Europe. But when you look at overall, they're not at the level that everybody. They're not at the level that Mikel Arteta spoke about after the match.
And Clinton, listen, in terms of them being back in the Champions League, it's very much for them. They're in their infancy stage for this particular team. You look at City, how long it took them to finally win the Champions League, having been in it for so many seasons. But he continually talks about how close they are to converting their league position into a title, turning these runs into an eventual trophy. But at the moment, they potentially may not finish the season even second. Man City could equal them on points today, and who knows how the rest of the season then plays out with 2 more games to go after this weekend. Is that "we're close" going to start to wear a little bit thin?
Oh, 100%. They were close 2 seasons ago. They haven't been close this season, and this was the best opportunity for them to maybe challenge the likes of Liverpool. And I know Man City, all these teams were in the contest at the start of the season, and obviously they've had disappointing seasons. Liverpool have been the better team. This was the best, I think, season, an opportunity for Arsenal to do that. I think Mikel Arteta, and Bodie's right, he's coming out and saying about the stats. I don't care about stats in football. Stats don't win you football matches. It's about putting the ball in the back of the net, and results win you football matches. That's what it's about, and they haven't done that. They didn't do it against PSG. PSG played it brilliantly. Yeah, Donnarumma in the second.
He
both
was unbelievable.
Outstanding. He's been brilliant. He was even brilliant against Aston Villa. I thought he was brilliant, magnificent in the second leg. But he's coming under pressure. So as a manager, you will come out and start saying stuff to defend your team for sure. But yeah, there'll be question marks.
You think there's a chance of Mikel Arteta losing his job?
No, I don't think he'll lose his job. I think they'll back him again in the summer. But I think next season is a big season. They have to win.
The pressure to get it right this summer.
Of course it is.
Get that striker in. The right striker is going to be massive.
Cut them some slack domestically this season, though, in terms of the league for me. Why? Because I think the last few weeks, and I know everybody, we've been saying here for ages that Liverpool are going to win the league. They've put all their eggs in the one basket of trying to get the Champions League, and that's where they've dropped off.
Why are you cutting them slack? At the start of the season, he should have been chasing them down. If Man City fall off, then you're the next best team that think you should go on and win it. That's when I will cut them slack over the last month or so, because they've been concentrating on the Champions League.
And that's where they've dropped the majority of the points.
That's where they dropped most of the points. But at the start of the season, during the season, been nowhere near good enough. And Liverpool have been the better team. So, yeah, as I said, I agreed with a lot what Bodie said. But the question marks will come over Mikel Arteta. But I still think he'll be there next season. But he needs to win stuff, because the Arsenal fans will get...
Welcome back inside the studio, Robbie. One of the big talking points is not just that Arsenal went out, but has been about their manager this week. And it feels like people fall into one category or another over comments that he's made, talking about how we were the best team in the competition, despite the fact that they went out, talking about the league, talking about we had more points than Liverpool. We had more points in the last 2 seasons that Liverpool have right now, and they've won the league. He's obviously feeling fired up and defensive of his team. Are you okay with it?
No, I'm not okay with some of the things that he says. I think that's something that shows what a bad loser he is, and he makes comments that we're all scratching our head with. Like the points thing is kind of a weird thing when there's more games to play. Talked about being the best team over 2 legs. All the stats said they were, but I think most people's eyes would have said that PSG are a better side and they've got a few better players. They've paid $1 gazillion for this squad, by the way, PSG over the last couple of years. So that's one thing about Mikel Arteta. I'll defend Arsenal, and I'm sure we'll get onto other questions, but this question about him and the things that he says, I don't like it, but that's one side of what he's doing. I like a lot of other things he's doing at the job, but his words he says sometimes are a little weird.
And does that matter, what he says?
I guess it matters on the outside. Oftentimes, I take it with a pinch of salt, because what his team inside believes and what they're saying to each other, I think, is the most important thing. He's obviously going to come out and defend his team. He should. He probably needs to defend his own position as well. So, yeah, I'm not as harsh on that, because sometimes on the outside things get said. But I think internally there's certainly a cohesion.
The only thing I'd add to that on that part of it is that it doesn't make him very likeable, Rebecca.
Does that matter?
I think it matters to some people. I think media, I think neutral fans. And then when things don't go well, like they get knocked out the semi-final stage of the Champions League, I think it's quite easy for people to have a little bit of a go at him because some of the things that he says. But that's maybe separate to the real important stuff, but it's a interesting angle on it.
It was interesting pre-game in his press conference ahead of this weekend. He said that we have gone backwards in the Premier League. Robbie sat here a couple of weekends ago and had a conversation with Gary Neville. Gary felt that they have gone backwards. Robbie didn't feel like they've gone
backwards in points from last year.
Certainly, yeah, the stats would suggest that. It's quite a strong statement to say we have gone backwards. I was quite surprised hearing that. Were you, Tim?
I was surprised. Again, I try and pick out what they're saying. It's an odd thing for him to say, because I don't necessarily know if they've gone backward. I think
only on the points they've gone backwards, but there's reasons for that. I don't think he means that the club and the team and their progression has gone backwards. I think he's just like, well, yeah, literally we've gone backwards because we got less points than we got this time last year.
But
I think it's simple as that.
I also think sometimes these managers are trying to they get over clever and try and make the board feel like they need to spend more money if they say we've gone backwards. They're always trying to create a case for themselves. I don't necessarily think Arsenal have gone backwards. I think it's because of the Liverpool factor. City was on top, and the next team to come through was going to be Arsenal. We were all convinced of that, and that didn't happen this year. And so it feels as if they've taken a slight step backward, but not for me.
It's the best Arsenal team for 20 years. You know, to reach a Champions League final, to finish second, that hasn't happened many times in the last 20 years. So they're building towards something, but of course they're just, at the moment, they're a little bit short.
And the short is the striker that this summer you believe they will go and get.
Yeah, I think so. Victor Gyökeres is the striker that apparently even now they're starting to talk about, negotiate. Etakike, a player at Eintracht Frankfurt, 22-year-old young French striker, I particularly like. Something a little bit different, a little bit raw, but...
Arsenal hope to end any doubt over the future of William Saliba after opening talks about a new contract for the centre-back. Saliba's existing terms run until the summer of 2027, and he is being targeted by Real Madrid. While the France international also has other suitors, should he depart Arsenal, it is likely to be for the 15-time European champions. But Arsenal do not want to lose the defender, and their sporting director Andrea Berta has held discussions with Saliba's camp in an effort to extend his stay. The club have yet to make an offer, but that will come in due course as they progress discussions and pursue an agreement. Saliba is known to be happy at Arsenal but will inevitably seek a deal reflecting his status as one of the leading players in his position across world football at the age of just 24. Saliba said in March that talks had not yet begun and there was no rush, but that he was happy and wanted to win trophies at Arsenal. He added that he felt he had not played his best football this term but has still made 49 appearances in all competitions and 33 in the Premier League, helping Arsenal to keep the strongest defensive record in the English top flight this season. Saliba, alongside Bukayo Saka and Gabriel Martinelli, signed a new contract in 2023 which saw his deal extended to the summer of 2027. He has played regularly for Arsenal as his side have challenged for the title in the past 3 Premier League seasons. Arsenal signed Saliba from League One club Saint-Etienne in July 2019 when he was 18 years old, and the defender remained with the French club before heading to North London for the 2020-21 season. He was sent back to the French top flight on subsequent loan spells with Nice and Marseille, before breaking into Arsenal's defence for the 2022-23 season. Arteta's side have qualified for the Champions League in every season since Saliba started to regularly feature, and came closest to winning the Premier League title when they finished 2 points behind Manchester City in 2023-24.